How do we use yin and yang in our photography? How do we balance and harmonize the opposing and complementary forces of light in our images? How do we express our vision, tell our story, or convey our message using light? All this and more in this episode of Philosopher, Photographer. Yin and Yang is a concept that originated in Chinese philosophy, describing the opposite but interconnected, mutually perpetuating forces. Examples of yin and yang opposite forces are female and male, dark and light, and old and young. The pairs of equal opposites both attract and complement each other. The yin and yang principle dates from the 3rd century BCE or even earlier and influences the philosophies of Taoism and Confucianism. Yin and Yang is also a fundamental concept in Chinese culture and religion. Yin and Yang were born from chaos when the universe was first created, and they are believed to exist in harmony at the center of the earth. Yin and Yang also represent the balance and harmony between the natural elements such as water and fire, earth and heaven, and the seasons. Yin and Yang also symbolize the balance and harmony between the human aspects such as body and mind, emotion and reason, and mortality and immortality. As photographers, we are also interested in yin and yang because they are related to light, which is the essence of photography. Light can also be seen as the manifestation of yin and yang, as it has both brightness and darkness, warmth and coldness, and color and tone. Light can also create contrast, depth, mood, and drama in our images, depending on how we use it. Light can also reflect our emotions, thoughts, and beliefs, as well as the emotions, thoughts, and beliefs of our subjects. But how do we use yin and yang in our photography? How do we balance and harmonize the opposing and complementary forces of light in our images? How do we express our vision, tell our story, or convey our message using light? These are some of the questions that we will try to answer in this episode with the help of some famous philosophers and their quotes and thoughts on yin and yang. We will also see how we can use some of the photography tips on balance to create beautiful and meaningful images using light. Let's start with one of the most famous and influential philosophers of Taoism, Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu was a Chinese philosopher and writer who lived in the 6th century BCE. He is the author of the Tao Te Ching, the foundational text of Taoism, which teaches the way of harmony and balance with nature and oneself. Lao Tzu said, "When people see some things as beautiful, other things become ugly. When people see some things as good, other things become bad. Being and non-being create each other. Difficult and easy support each other. Long and short define each other. High and low depend on each other. Before and after follow each other. Therefore, the sage acts without doing anything and teaches without saying anything. Things arise and he lets them come. Things disappear and he lets them go. He has but doesn't possess. Acts but doesn't expect. When his work is done, he forgets it. That is why it lasts forever." Lao Tzu's quote teaches us that everything is relative and interdependent, and that we should not judge or attach to anything, but rather accept and let go of everything. He also teaches us that the sage or the wise person follows the natural flow of things without forcing or interfering and without expecting or claiming anything. So how can we use Lao Tzu's philosophy in our photography? Well, one way is to use light to create images that show the relativity and interdependence of things, and that avoid judging or attaching to anything. We can also use light to create images that show the natural flow of things without forcing or interfering and without expecting or claiming anything. For example, we can photograph a scene that shows the beauty and ugliness, the good and bad, the being and non-being of things without imposing our own opinions or preferences. We can also photograph a scene that shows the change and movement of things without trying to control or stop them, and without seeking or taking credit for them. Think of some other examples of photos that use light in a Taoist way. Imagine a photo of a flower and a weed growing side by side, with the light shining on both of them equally. This photo can represent the idea that beauty and ugliness are relative and interdependent, and that we should not judge or attach to either of them. Or a photo of a sunrise or a sunset, with the light changing from dark to bright or from bright to dark. This photo can represent the idea that good and bad are relative and interdependent, that we should not judge or attach to either of them. Or how about a photo of a river or a waterfall with the light showing the flow and movement of the water? This photo can represent the idea that the sage follows the natural flow of things without forcing or interfering, and without expecting or claiming anything. These are just some examples of how we can use light to create Taoist photos inspired by Lao Tzu. Of course, there are many other ways to interpret and apply his philosophy, and I encourage you to experiment and find your own. Now let's move on to another philosopher who had a different view of Yin and Yang, Confucius. Confucius was a Chinese philosopher and teacher who lived in the 6th century BCE. He is the founder of Confucianism, which teaches the way of moral and social order based on humaneness, loyalty, filial piety, and ritual. Confucius said, "The superior man understands what is right. The inferior man understands what will sell. The superior man is dignified, but does not wrangle. He is sociable, but not a partisan. The superior man does not promote a man simply on account of his words, nor does he put aside good words because of the man. The superior man is cautious in the use of words, but does his duty. The superior man is distressed by his want of ability. He is not distressed by men's not knowing him." Confucius's quote teaches us that the superior man, or the virtuous person, knows and does what is right, regardless of what is popular or profitable. He also teaches us that the superior man is respectful but not submissive. He's friendly but not biased. He's honest but not rude. He is humble but not timid. He is concerned but not anxious. So how can we use Confucius's philosophy in our photography? Well, one way is to use light to create images that show the rightness and wrongness of things, and that avoid following what is popular or profitable. We can also use light to create images that show the respectfulness, friendliness, honesty, humility, and concern of the superior man, and that avoid showing the submissiveness, bias, rudeness, timidity, and anxiety of the inferior man. For example, we can photograph a scene that shows the moral and social order, or the lack thereof, of things without being influenced by what is trendy or lucrative. We can also photograph a scene that shows the humaneness, loyalty, filial piety, and ritual of the superior man, or the lack thereof of the inferior man. Or another photo of a person smiling or frowning at another person, with the light showing the friendliness or bias of their expression. How about a photo of a person speaking or lying to another person, with the light showing the honesty or rudeness of their words? These are just some examples of how we can use light to create photos inspired by Confucius. Of course, there are many other ways to interpret and apply his philosophy, and I encourage you to experiment and find your own. We have reached the end of this episode of Philosopher, Photographer. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. I also hope you feel inspired to use yin and yang in your photography and to explore the balance and harmony between the opposing and complementary forces of light in your images. Remember, Yin and Yang are not just physical phenomena, they're also metaphors and symbols of our reality, being, and existence. They can help us express our vision, tell our story, and convey our message using light. They can also help us discover ourselves. So go on and discover. Until next time.